Lebanon Health Ministry has confirmed that over 6 persons were lifeless and 91 others injured after massive air military campaigns aimed at the leader of the Hezbollah fighters, Hassan Nasrallah, at Beirut on Friday afternoon in Lebanon. Although Israel Defense Forces, IDF, has confirmed that the massive airstrikes targeted at Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was successful and the leader confirmed dead during the attack, but Hezbollah has kept mum on the claim as at the time of filing in this report on Saturday morning. Israel state media says that bunker-busting bombs were used on Friday afternoon to strike the Beirut residential buildings. The Israel military says houses Hezbollah bunkers beneath. The Israel Defense Forces also said the bunkers were also used as arms depots, storing high-precision weapons planned to be used on Israeli civilians. Hassan Nasrallah has been one of the most wanted leaders and founders of the Hezbollah organization for years. He usually appears in a video from unknown locations. He last appeared in a video condemning the pagers attacks in Lebanon that left thousands of people injured and numbers of the pagers users feared dead, after the mobile anti-tracking devices exploded in populated areas and places in Beirut and other parts of Lebanon less than few weeks ago. Citizens' reports from Beirut on Friday night indicated that the residents were seen as shown in the photographs posted online lying on the streets in Beirut after being displaced from the southern suburb as a result of the Israeli army's continuous bombing in the city. AP, international news agency, reported that the Israeli military struck Hezbollah's headquarters in Beirut in a series of massive explosions that targeted the leader of the militant group and leveled multiple high-rise apartment buildings. The biggest blast to hit the Lebanese capital in the past year appeared likely to push the escalating conflict closer to full-fledged war, and at least 6 people were killed and 91 were wounded, Lebanon's health ministry said. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was the target of the strikes on the group's headquarters, according to 2 sources, including one U.S. official. The Israeli army declined to comment on who it was targeting. It was not immediately clear if Mr. Nasrallah was at the site, and Hezbollah did not comment on the report. The toll is likely to rise significantly as teams are still combing through the rubble of 6 buildings. After the strikes, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu abruptly cut short a visit to the U.S. to return home. Hours earlier, he addressed the UN, vowing that Israel's intensified campaign against Hezbollah over the past 2 weeks would continue, further dimming hopes for an internationally backed ceasefire. News of the blast came as Mr. Netanyahu was briefing reporters after his UN address. A military aide whispered into his ear, and he quickly ended the briefing. Israeli army spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the strikes targeted the main Hezbollah headquarters, saying it was located on the ground beneath residential buildings. The series of blasts at around nightfall reduced 6 apartment towers to rubble in Haret Reik, a densely populated district of Beirut's Dahiyeh suburbs, according to Lebanon's national news agency. A wall of billowing black and orange smoke rose into the sky as windows were rattled and houses shaken 18 miles north of Beirut. Footage showed rescue workers clambering over large slabs of concrete, surrounded by high piles of twisted metal and wreckage. Several craters were visible, one with a car toppled into it. A stream of residents carrying their belongings were seen fleeing along a main road out of the district. Israel's air forces followed with a new set of strikes early on Saturday, shortly after an Israeli military spokesman warned residents of several buildings to evacuate, saying they were being used by the militant Hezbollah group. An attempt to assassinate Mr. Nasrallah, successful or not, would be a major escalation. The Pentagon said the U.S. had no advance warning of the strikes. He has been in hiding for years, rarely appearing in public. He regularly gives speeches, but always by video from unknown locations. The site hit on Friday evening had not been publicly known as Hezbollah's main headquarters, though it is located in the group's security quarters, a heavily guarded part of Haret Reik where it has offices and runs several hospitals. The funeral of Hezbollah drone commander Mohammed Hussein Sow took place this week. 4 hours after the strike, Hezbollah had still not issued any statement referring to it. Instead, it announced that it had launched a salvo of rockets at the Israeli city of Safed, in defense of Lebanon and its people, and in response to the barbaric Israeli violation of cities, villages and civilians. The Israeli military said a house and a car in Safed were hit, without providing details. The Israeli army later warned residents to evacuate 3 buildings in other southern Beirut neighborhoods, saying it was about to strike them because Hezbollah was using them to hide weapons. Israel dramatically intensified its airstrikes in Lebanon this week, saying it is determined to put an end to more than 11 months of Hezbollah fire into its territory. The escalated campaign has killed more than 720 people in Lebanon, including dozens of women and children, according to health ministry statistics. A pre-dawn strike on Friday in the border town of Cheba killed 9 members of the same family, the state news agency said. Israel Defense Forces said its air forces killed Hezbollah missile unit commander Muhammad Ali Ismail, who it said was responsible for directing numerous terror attacks against Israel, and his deputy Hussein Ahmad Ismail during an attack in southern Lebanon on Tuesday. There was no immediate confirmation from Hezbollah. The scope of Israel's operation remains unclear, but officials have said a ground invasion to push the militant group away from the border is a possibility. Israel has moved thousands of troops towards the border in preparation. At the UN, Mr. Netanyahu vowed to continue degrading Hezbollah until Israel achieves its goals. His comments dampened hopes for a US-backed call for a 21-day truce between Israel and Hezbollah to allow time for a diplomatic solution. Hezbollah has not responded to the proposal. Iranian-backed Hezbollah, the strongest armed force in Lebanon, began firing rockets into Israel almost immediately after Hamas's October 7 attack last year, saying it was a show of support for the Palestinians. Since then, it and the Israeli military have traded fire almost daily, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee their homes on both sides of the border. An Israeli security official said he expects the campaign against Hezbollah would not last for as long as the current war in Gaza, because the military's goals are much narrower. In Gaza, Israel aims to dismantle Hamas's military and political regime, but the goal in Lebanon is to push Hezbollah away from the border, not a high bar like Gaza, in terms of operational objectives, said the official. The Israeli military said it carried out dozens of strikes around the south on Friday, targeting Hezbollah rocket launchers and infrastructure. It said Hezbollah fired a volley of rockets towards the northern Israeli city of Tiberias, Associated Press news agency reported. Few hours ago, unverified reports indicated that Iranian cargo plane was forced to make U-turn after air traffic warning from Israel not to land in Beirut. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, while speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, in USA on Friday before the massive airstrikes in Beirut, said Iran is the cause of the conflicts in the Middle East. That Israel wants peace, but the continuous aggression from Iran is frustrating and aiming more attacks at Israeli civilians.
Nasrallah bringing you the news in a more digital way.